Justice Workman said, you've had a good run, now get along, and she did that, which I found to be kind of demeaning.
And welcome back to Inside West Virginia Politics. Our final segment today, we're talking more about the impeachment hearings before the West Virginia House of Delegates. Joining me now is former Delegate Marc Harmon, who was a Republican representing Grant County. Good to have you back on the show.
Good to see you, Mark.
You're here doing analysis because you were on the last time they did an impeachment 29 years ago, A. James Mansion. Let's talk about the main testimony this week, that being Dee Canterbury, the former court administrator who was fired by Justice Alan Lawfrey. Your impressions?
Well, I think Steve has been around a long time in a number of positions. I think he holds a certain level of credibility with a number of people. His testimony came across to me as very upfront, very straightforward, and I think the committee will probably view it that way.
Are they going to have to, I mean, the marquee moment was the discussion of the $32,000 couch. Are basically the committee members going to have to say, well, who do we believe here? They don't have Justice Lawfrey's testimony, but that's been memorialized in the press where he blamed Canterbury for the couch. Canterbury says Lawfrey ordered the $32,000 couch and it'd be paid for by taxpayers' money.
That's the biggest challenge the committee now faces. You have diametrically opposing statements and positions, and the committee now has to decide who are they going to believe, because that's what it's going to boil down to.
There are some lawmakers who say their impression is that the Supreme Court justices felt they were above the law. Is that going to be something you think weighs in on these folks? I mean, we have people getting expensive lunches catered in and using state vehicles for personal use and other things.
I think the historical lack of oversight of the Supreme Court budget has contributed to a certain air of arrogance with the court, has led them to believe that they have certain freedoms with their budget, and I think that it has over time has snowballed and has been taken advantage of.
We've also had this, it's going to be a he said thing. Canterbury said that there was a very detailed drawing of the office that Justice Lawfrey sketched, how he wanted the couch, how he wanted that inlay of the state of West Virginia in the wood and the floor, yes. And then Lawfrey saying that he had very little to do with the remodeling of his office. Again, is it going to be bad that it's in his handwriting, that sketch of the office?
Well, I think that's damning. I do. I think that that belies his statement that I didn't do that much with it. I think it's very clear from that, if he in fact made the drawing, that he was in on the beginning, had certain ideas about what he wanted his office to look like. And I think it's inconceivable to me that all the justices didn't have tremendous input into what went into their offices, realistically.
Yeah, you wouldn't let somebody remodel your home without your input,
right?
Right.
That's correct.
You mentioned something about the justices, and it came out in the testimony yesterday that all 5 justices were opposed to this proposed amendment to the Constitution, giving the legislature control over the budget. It seems like maybe they're the only 5 in the state. I think the thing is going to pass overwhelmingly in November.
I would hope so. I would hope so. I think if nothing else, this whole exercise points out the need for some oversight from another branch of government on the court.
Yeah. You tell me you know Dee Canterbury a long time. He had a rather compelling moment in the testimony yesterday. He said he was fired and that Justice Workman, and he did this motion, kind of shoot him out of the room like he was a dog after all his years of state service. Is that straight? You talked about perhaps arrogance of the court. Is that? Well, I
think if that truly happened in that fashion, then that's another indication of the arrogance that comes out of the Supreme Court. I've over decades have witnessed different forms of arrogance from Supreme Court justices. And the 10 years I spent in the legislature, one of the most frustrating aspects was that watching the legislature struggle with issues relating to the court, but having really very little say in how the court managed its money, how they handled their budget. It was extremely frustrating.
We're down to about 30 seconds. Any final thoughts? Do you see this wrapping up soon now that the main testimony, the main witness is over?
Well, I was intrigued by Chairman Schott's statements at the end of the meeting that some new information had come about through the result of some work by individual members of the management team. Those folks have probably received some information from folks, so it'll be intriguing to see what that information is.
All right, former Delegate Marc Harmon, we'll have you back as the process goes on, the impeachment hearings at the Capitol. Thank you for watching this week on Inside West Virginia Politics.